Hello, we are Nerds of the West. Thank you so much for joining us. We have just played the first 3 levels of Mists Over Carcassonne, a cooperative version of the classic board game. We're going to dive into all our thoughts on how it plays, what the new art is like, what it's like playing this game cooperatively, and then we're going to put it on our Nerds of the West ranking board. We rank every single game, not based on if it's necessarily better than another, but just if given the opportunity, what we would prefer to play. You can see that updated every single week on our website as well, nerdsofthewest.com. But we, the people that are doing this, my name is Tom, we have a Bree.
Bree.
We have a Lachlan.
Hello.
And we have a Chris.
Hey.
So I'm going to start where I always like to do with the art, but in this case, I'm going to talk specifically components, because this game introduces some new meeples. We have the green, the green, pink, black, blue, and red meeple, and yellow. Wow, there's a lot of meeples that you can be.
The crab claw meeples.
With their lovely little lanterns. What do we think about it? The good meeples?
No, I don't like them. I reckon
I
it'd be
prefer they didn't need to put extra bits on them. I'm sorry, but they didn't need to put whatever, like the torch.
I get the idea. I get them trying to be different. It doesn't sell. It just isn't quite there.
Yeah.
I just want to get and chop them off.
That's balanced out by the fucking ghost meeples, which are fucking sick.
So cool.
Oh, man. Those are fucking... They're basically the Snapchat ghost, let's be honest. But then that's balanced out by the fact that the doggos are not actually doggos.
Yeah,
I wish they were a dog meeple.
Why aren't the dogs meeples?
Maybe because they didn't want to get confused on the scoreboard, but to be honest...
No, but you can tell the difference.
That's the point of meeples, to be able to tell the difference.
Most people can tell the difference between a dog meeple and a person meeple.
Well, I mean, also, they could have made the dogs brown, which there's no brown meeple character. So,
Correct.
like, the ghosts are different, and just make them small like the ghosts.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've got that size discrepancy or
Dog
difference.
is off screen.
Sorry.
But,
Get good, boy.
yeah, so it's like, the regular meeples, not so great. Ghost meeples, great.
Great.
Dog meeples, which aren't even
Lacking.
meeples, they're just pop-outs.
Lacking dog meeples.
I wish there were dog meeples. That's my one big criticism of this game, is I wish there was dog
Yeah,
meeples.
but
How
fundamentally...
many? Are there only 2? No matter how many?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's challenge for you. Go out and find some dog meeples.
And I think the reason they've got the 2 and their pop-outs and not wooden meeples is because they have a 1 and a 2 on them, and it's difficult. They'd have to sticker them for them to be a 1 and a 2.
It doesn't make a difference
Or
at the
you
levels
can
we
just-
played.
Or you can, meeples are wood, so you can like.
But that's a
put
whole
line in
other
them.
step of production.
That's
step
like a
onto.
massive
Stickers is usually the way to go. But the actual gameplay, this game adds 2 new tiles, which are always interesting to me, the different ways that you can score in Carcassonne. I thought the play on the monastery with the castle was really cool, with the way that you not scored for every tile around it, but for the missed tiles around it, focusing on that and your choices there. But the cemeteries, the threat of the cemetery, but only having to surround it on 4 sides was a really nice balance.
I hate them, but I love them. Like in terms of the game, good addition. In terms of playing the game, though, I was like, fuck those cemeteries. Which is kind of, you need that little
That's kind of the
attention.
point,
You
I
need
thought,
that little
yeah.
bit of attention.
But like, otherwise it would have been far too easy.
Exactly.
I reckon. Like the cemeteries were the one thing that came up, and we thought, oh no, we have to deal with this now. So it puts the pressure on, and especially since we're all working together, you really focused on it, and I don't know, it just brought a bit of tension to the table.
And you got to be careful not to hyper-focus on it and be like, cemetery! And then be like, yo, dude, we're about to run out of tiles. So like...
You definitely run out of ghosts really fast.
Well, that's the thing. If you can focus on absolutely nailing both getting points for finishing cities and roads, but also closing off ghost areas, I think we only closed off like 3 or 4 ghost areas through all 3 games that we played, because it's very difficult to do while also scoring points.
Yeah, well, you're basically like closing them as fields. But yeah, it's real tricky, and especially because they don't have to go next to things. So
Which
it's like
means that
you could like put they can't be closed, and it's like
made
that
an
balance
effort.
between not closing it at all and going, this is never getting closed.
Because the difference with fields is that you can't, or the difference with like the cities and then the fields in the original game and everything is that like they're designed so you should. I hate you so much right now. So that you should be able to close them. Whereas because they're like, you don't have to close these, you don't have to put them next to another missed tile. Like they didn't have to play test it to make sure that it was possible.
I'm sure
that
they
makes sense.
tested that idea at one point and went, no, this
It's
just needs
too
to be a
hard,
joke.
yeah. So, yeah.
But also when you're putting myths next to each other to try and do that, you're then putting less ghosts on the field, which is a nice bonus. But then having only one ghost on one tile meant that wasn't a target for clearing ghosts off. So there was this really great push and pull for like how many ghosts you're putting out to try and make sure you have enough ghosts for later on, while also like stopping you from doing too much with the myths all in one go.
Yeah.
It was
Because then we ended up with like real big mists. Because we were like, we need to just try and like, I don't even know how that was. That's fine. But like, I'm like, it was somewhere. But like, we needed to try and like fix. We were trying to manage this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of managing, I think Lachlan called it perfectly. You need to have like 1 or 2 big cities.
I know.
Where multiple
and like, but like
people
more
score
people on the city. I was like,
Multiple people.
I needed someone to come and join me.
But because in regular Catan, you're fighting each
Carcassonne.
other, right? So,
Carcassonne.
Sorry, Carcassonne. You know, you're on a city, it's great, it's big, it's got shield symbols in it, and someone else picks the tile that you need, and they go, oh, I'm taking this somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
Frustrating. Whereas in this, you're actively, it's easier.
We were all just like, put it down, put it down, put it down there, put it down there. Like,
Yeah, we're all in the same city, we're all scoring points together, but then the enemy of the ghost is like, kind of like the person taking the tile away from you, because it's like, do I score points with this, or do I forego the points to clear some ghosts, or do we have to finish this cemetery off because it's getting too big?
Or even placing
The
it so
threat,
city
the
gets bigger.
threat assessment of figuring out where is the right place to put and use things right now. I always loved in Carcassonne working with other people to make big cities. Like I know one game where we ended up with 4 people all in the same big city. So it made no difference to the score because we all got the same amount of points from it. But it was fun. And to have that moment where you are trying to build a big city to satisfyingly have that final tile that you need, I thoroughly enjoyed that. I found roads in this to be more frustrating than helpful.
Oh yeah, roads in this sucked.
Roads stopped you from
we
putting
wanted to
things
put
where
things
you wanted
down.
it to be.
We were like, fuck this road. Fuck this road.
And we didn't even close any roads. Like I think if we had gotten a long road, which it didn't happen. Like I think
we
we
did
had.
it the second round.
But we only had like me on 1 like 5,
But,
and it's like we needed more people on the road for that road to be
That
viable.
being said, the roads were very handy at getting rid of ghosts.
Be a ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the 2 is like
Yeah, exactly. And you
But
think,
look-
oh, what's 2 points when we need to get to 100? I'll
Yeah.
use this now to get rid of 3
3
ghosts.
ghosts.
yeah. But we spent so many 4 points getting
Yeah.
rid of ghosts because it was
Yeah.
like city closed, football. Get
But
rid
we
of ghosts.
have to get rid of ghosts. Yeah.
But that's just a threat assessment. That's the tiles we were getting, and that's all we had to do. And I think, unfortunately, we played to our best ability in that final round. Don't think we could have got there.
No.
The luck of the tiles that were coming out just didn't fall our way. But as someone points out, the rounds, Fireheart pointed it out, the rounds are very short. The game, like so many games, it's like, oh, this is 30 to 45 minutes. This game says the rounds are 35 minutes. It says it that much. And I'm like, they're right.
Yeah.
Like you can play this all the way through in half an hour very
Yeah.
quickly, which means if you lose, you're losing in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So starting again doesn't feel too bad.
Yeah, and I think that's where the difficulty scale comes in because, yes, it's hard, but it's hard for that 1 round. The next round might be easy, and you can play it might take you 3 or 4 games to complete that 1 challenge, but at least it's a challenge as opposed to blowing through all 6 in your first playthrough and going, well, I've played the game now and I don't need to go back and play it anymore.
I also I like that we lost here because I would have been a lot more frustrated if we'd have been like right at the end, and then we would have been.
But then
like,
you would have been like, we're back in.
That is a good point. Is you kind of touched on it. Replay value though.
Yeah.
If you're still trying to win and still failing, then there's a reason to try again. Once you've
Yeah.
passed all 6 levels, I don't know how much you'd play this over and over again.
Yeah, like you could go back through it again, or you could play customize it however you want for your challenge and difficulty. But there's only really 6 levels that you can play at, and they are going to get harder. You're going to get 13 and 12 ghosts as you get better, and you'll see how things work and function as you play more of it. And what comes up is what comes up. And the rounds are so short that it doesn't matter that if you have a bad round, like we had the first round, was real good up until
real
a certain
quick.
point.
Yeah.
And it was pretty
You even jinxed us because you were
Yeah.
like, this is going to be the easy test round. And then 5 seconds
Exactly.
later, we were like, ah.
And that's just how it turns, right? But
Yeah.
everyone working together makes it work. But then I feel like there was a lot of quarterbacking. More than.
But that's the
should have
problem
been.
with a co-op game.
It's not
It's
all
because-
co-op games,
Yeah.
but
It's risk-based co-op game.
Yeah.
Where it's like, this has to go here and
this is the only right
this
choice.
is the best choice, right? This is guaranteed the best choice, and you become a counselor of just being like, we should all just have one person draw and us all go, where are we putting it?
Yeah.
Like, but then it's not really your decision of where you put it, and not really a co-op game in that sense. So that's a hard balance. But I think that the difficulty of it doesn't really bother me that much because the replay value is there for it. Because otherwise, yeah, you'd blow through 6 rounds.
Well, because also I feel like the second round, we got real lucky. And so we won real quick. So I feel like we didn't struggle. And so then when we were like, yeah, and went into the third round, we were like, oh.
Yeah, and we were like, hey, are we short for time? Are we long for time? Do
Yeah.
we want to call it? It's like, no, let's go for the round. And if we
give it a shot.
lose, then we lose. Like, that's
Exactly.
part of the game, and the part of the fun was the attempt, right? Like, we knew we could lose, and it's not disheartening that we did, right? Whereas other games can be disheartening when you lose, because you've gone,
Yeah.
I've just spent 2 hours
Yeah.
and we've lost.
The
On
speed
luck of it.
really.
Pandemic.
Yeah.
No, like, that's like when you get to the end and you're like, we've been trying so hard, and I feel like we've been 7 steps behind the entire time.
I will say,
Whereas
value-wise, this game is quite good because not only is it a cooperative standalone game, it can be its own expansion onto the base game.
Yeah, because
You can have ghosts that you use to scare away people, so their meeple is no longer in that spot. Graveyards will unlock extra meeples for you. So you have your standards, like 8 meeples that you start with. And if you fully surround a graveyard, it has to be all 8, not the 4 like in this game. You then get one of these meeples with the thing as an extra meeple into your supply. And then the castles just score the same way with Mist.
Yeah. See, I feel like these meeples would not be scared of ghosts, right? So like, so these ones with torches wouldn't be scared because they have the torch, whereas the other ones would be. I think there's a lot of ways, but the fact that it would incorporate with the base game is great as well.
Yeah.
Especially the castles, the manors or castles or whatever
Yeah.
we're calling them. So we've got castles and castles, like,
It just makes it hard.
but yeah,
Cities and
Cities
castles.
and castles.
cities and
That's
castles.
what we keep
Oh,
saying. It's a
yeah.
city.
Cities and castles.
What also a great expansion.
You're right. How high do you reckon you could do?
So, well, she can build it pretty high, but right now we're going to pull
Not
up the
very
Nerds of
high,
the
yeah.
West ranking board and put this game on. As I said before, this is how we rank games, not based on if they're objectively better than another, but if given the opportunity, what we would prefer to play. Speed, time of gameplay takes into account how many people you have to play it with. I'm really curious to see how this game works solo, because you have access to different meeples, different number of meeples.
I reckon this would be a good solo game.
I think it'd be a really great solo game.
See my towers. No, it's fine. It's fine. Just knock them over. It's fine.
We haven't played too many cooperative games this year. Too Many Cooks is my favourite cooperative game of the last little while, and as much as I adore Carcassonne, as much as I think it's a great game, this game isn't a better cooperative game than that to me. So it's going to drop down quite a few places. I'm probably going to put it along the same kind of level as Northgard. Northgard's another great tile laying game. This just scratches that cooperative itch where Northgard's competitive. So for me, sits in that solid area in the middle there.
Fair enough. Sure, right, I'll go because I feel like I'm the only one who's got some thoughts on it. I enjoyed it. It was all right. It was justifiable. It was refreshing on the palate after not playing Carcassonne for such a long time that it was a little bit refreshing to play a twist on Carcassonne.
Yeah.
I would prefer to play regular Carcassonne to this version of Carcassonne.
Yeah.
And as far as like a co-op game, I think maybe the solo would probably play better just because of that whole co-op situation doesn't really seem to add a lot to it. Or you could probably play like a mishmash where someone plays the ghosts and everyone else.
I'm sure there's a way to figure that out. Yeah.
But yeah, it was refreshing. It was enjoyable. There are so many good games on this board, so I'd say it's below Nemesis Lockdown because I'd rather play Nemesis or Nemesis Lockdown over Mists Over Carcassonne. It's not a terrible game. It is refreshing on the palate, but there are other games I'd rather play.
Yeah. I like the challenge.
Yeah.
It was quick. Those rounds,
Yeah.
fast and challenging, was good.
Yeah, I share a lot of that sentiment as well. Carcassonne is certainly a game that you don't want to play all the time because you've already played it so many times. But like, imagine getting your like family who wasn't particularly into board games back for another round of Carcassonne and saying, "Hey, we've got this expansion pack. This is really going to like, you know, mix the game up. And you know, you're used to playing the base game, and here's an extra little thing." So I think in that way, it's quite cute and stuff. I'd probably put it just below Hand to Hand Wombat because I did like that game. But yeah, it's certainly not a not a terrible game or anything, expansion or anything. But yeah, it was satisfactory and delivered on what it promised.
Quite satisfactory, but not
and I'd like to play it
overwhelmingly.
more with like the rest of the nerds and stuff to get everyone's
Like
take
a
on
bigger,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, because I wanted
Plays up to 5.
Plays
Yeah.
5, yeah.
There's just extra meeples. What about you, Brie?
1 to 10, I'd probably rank it about a 4. I'm thinking about.
Yeah? Just not feeling it?
No, I like it. No, I mean, because I have to do this a little
Yeah.
differently because I haven't played a lot of these games yet. So I'm thinking about like, whether or not, not in terms of like 1 to 10, is it good? In terms of like, would I pull this out in comparison to other games? And I think that's why it'd sit probably around a 4 because if I'm playing with my family members, I'm still going to pull out OG Carcassonne because if they don't play board games, they can get a little confused. And then when you play co-op, bad things can happen.
So on that note, how do you guys feel about this being cooperative to introduce people versus introducing them to the base game of Carcassonne?
Yeah.
Like, would you introduce them to base game, or would you go, well, this was cooperative, so it's a little bit like nicer for people to be introduced to a game, or would you be like, get ready for Carcassonne?
The scoring aspect is easy. Everything else is difficult. And it'd be way too much for some people.
And I also then would think if there's people that, if you're bringing it into people that haven't played Carcassonne or haven't played a lot of board games, and you're like, all right, we're going to play this game, it's co-op, what's stopping them from just being like, well, what do you think we should do? And like, they're not like building like their own trying to win.
That happens in Carcassonne anyway.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'm not sure what to do. It's like, well, this would be a good idea. Even though we're working against each other,
And
it's
you
like,
can tell,
this would be a good idea.
But then you can also still, there's like that in the OG, there's still the element of like, well, I can give you advice, but I'm also trying to win. So like, you need to learn and make your own choices. Whereas this, they're just turned into a lot of like, put it here.
Well, if you're saying about a 4, then it is down the bottom there. But it averages out to about hand-to-hand wombat level. So we're going to slab that bad boy in there. But at the end of the year, with everyone having a chance to play as many games as possible, we will re-rank this board and figure out our favourite game of 2023. You can catch that stream live, twitch.tv/nerdsofthewest, or you can catch all our content, as always, on YouTube. Thank you very much for watching, and we will catch you next time.